Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star sports podcast. It's our Super Bowl pregame edition. I'm Blair Kirchhoff. On this show, columnists Sam McDowell and Vahe Gregorian, along with beat writer Jesse Newell, break down Super Bowl LVIII between the Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. What will it take for the Chiefs to win? What would a Chiefs loss look like? We discuss the team's strengths, possible weaknesses, and both teams' playoff paths to the big game. You will not hear a better conversation about the Super Bowl than right here. So let's get started. All right, it's the Super Bowl extravaganza show here on SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star. We had a big opening. We just tell them.
Well,
I wish I had energy like that right now.
I'm going to just jump in and say, between that sudden change in your voice and Jesse wearing the All Juice Team sweatshirt, I'm quite reminded of Therese Paler's ability to go from 0 to 60 when perhaps the juice wasn't there moments before the podcast. I'm not saying that was the case with you. However.
And it won't be.
I'm not saying it.
I'm glad you brought up Therese's name. It's a great time to think about him. A wonderful time to remember Therese.
Yeah,
but you're absolutely right, Vahe. He would, before we started recording a podcast, he would just, I don't have the energy, and I don't know how we're going to do this. And he'd turn the recorder on and, hey.
Ha ha!
He was great that way. So.
We had a walk yesterday where Jesse Newell and I each had our All Juice sweatshirts on, just trying to summon some of that juice. And we're glad you're furnishing for us, Blair.
Well, we're at the Super Bowl, right? And fourth one in 50 years for the Chiefs and second in a row. And they're bidding, I think, for dynasty status. I think that's what's on the line for the Chiefs in this game. We've written about it. We've all kind of talked about it in some way. But 3 Super Bowl victories in 5 years, I think you can call yourself a dynasty. It's kind of up to us to call them a dynasty, right? It's every time we talk to Andy Reid or Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce, and so they send it back our way. It's up to someone else.
Even Clark Hunt, it seems like they've maybe met on this topic.
That's right.
Because Clark Hunt, in our sit down with him the other day, said, well, I don't know, it'll be up to you guys to use the D word or something to that effect, which is kind of interesting. We have talked so much about the dynasty thing. It's an interesting question how we'll view this span if they lose. I mean, it's not like they're the Buffalo Bills losing 4 Super Bowls in a row, right?
Or from our day, the Minnesota Vikings.
Or the Minnesota Vikings, right? But 2-2 is substantially different than 3-1. And I don't know. I haven't thought so much about the implications of them losing, but it would be quite a different story than them winning their third. Is that because we've done this podcast every week of the season, and we don't do predictions. I think we let the other podcasts do their predictions. But I do want to talk about the case for the Chiefs and the case for the 49ers in this game. And because we see the Chiefs all the time, I think we can more easily come up with a case for the Chiefs. So what is the strongest case for the Chiefs in this game to win this game?
I think it's that this 49ers team, the biggest difference that it has and the team that they played 4 years ago in the Super Bowl is their defensive line does not generate a lot of pressure. And I think you look at the names like Nick Bosa and Chase Young and assume that they would generate a lot of pressure, but they're like bottom 5 in the league in pressures generated this year. And those are the teams that give the Chiefs trouble, the teams that only bring 4 rushers and can still pressure the quarterback and can drop 7 into the pocket. And that's what makes the Chiefs throw short and takes away the back, the top half. And I don't think the 49ers have the ability to do that. So they're really good defensively still, especially over the middle of the field. So I think it's interesting how the Chiefs would use Travis Kelce. But that's the Chiefs' best argument for why I think they could win this game. And the other side of the ball would be, I think we all believe that Steve Spagnuolo will give Brock Purdy some stuff he has not seen ever. And sometimes I think you would say a quarterback hasn't seen all year, but Brock Purdy's young enough to where I think he'll see some stuff on Sunday that he has not ever seen on film before.
I'll take the 49ers case.
Sure.
the game flow for the Chiefs these last few games has gone great because they've started out so well. And also, we've talked about the Ravens gave up on the run game so quick. There's a huge strength versus weakness in this game, and that is the 49ers run offense versus the Chiefs run defense. And I think the worst version of this game for the Chiefs is that CBS video that we always see of them showing during an 8-minute drive by the opposition, Patrick Mahomes sitting on the sideline chewing his mouth guard.
The first half of last year's Super Bowl.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that could be a reality. And again, the Ravens went away from it, but the 49ers should look at that tape and say, we don't have to. And we know their left side is just bananas good. Trent Williams is dominant, and the Chiefs have struggled to stop outside zone this particular year. So the game flow has gone with the Chiefs this year, and they deserve some credit for that with their really good starts in these games. But I could just definitely see this. The Chiefs haven't had the game pressure on them in games, and the 49ers could definitely put that on them if they can run the ball, limit possessions, take advantage of the Chiefs' weakness. The other part I have to mention this is, Sam, you talked about the 2019 Super Bowl, Chiefs versus 49ers. I don't know what happens if Jimmy Garoppolo hits that one deep shot in the game. What happens in that game? Does it change? Do the Chiefs win? Do they come back and win? I don't know. What I do know is the 49ers have a quarterback now who might be inconsistent at times, but he will make that big play. And so the Chiefs cannot let up on those particular plays because Brock Purdy will make them pay for it. The 49ers have a better quarterback than they did in that Super Bowl 4 years ago. That makes them a much more dangerous team than they were in that Super Bowl.
One quick thought I have on this, it comes a little bit from the quarterback documentary, but it also comes from wondering what the Chiefs, scheming is going to be all about, and how much, is there any possibility the Chiefs have lulled the 49ers a little bit into the way they've been playing the last month or so, and they might open it up a little bit. Will the 49ers be susceptible to that? But the thing I'm thinking about from the quarterback documentary, wasn't that when we heard Mahomes talking about, we've got tape. They don't know we've got tape. And that was some things they were able to exploit.
He said that in the locker room after the game. Jesse and I were in that game in San Francisco. But yeah, I mean, his interception in that game turned out to be his best play of the game because it told him how San Francisco was going to play them all game, and that the top half was going to be open. They hit Marquez Valdez-Scantling on the biggest play of the game. The Chiefs also beat him on horizontal stuff, and which, like Jesse mentioned last week, brings up an interesting question.
On vertical stuff, you mean? I'm sorry. Both of them, actually.
Yeah,
Nicole Hardman had the 3 touchdowns, but they also,
they beat him on both.
Mahomes said that, and I'll throw it deep if they let me throw it deep. So they kind of did both of those.
That's why I said, the 49ers' biggest strength is they defend the middle of the field really well, which is Travis Kelce's area. But the Chiefs do. I mean, Travis Kelce lines up off the line. When I say off that, I mean, out wide, on half of the snaps, basically. More so this year than ever before. So they have ways to still get him involved, even if the 49ers are taking over the middle of the field.
I think
But do you think, do you guys have any sense, of course it will be a game flow matter in a different way, but will the Chiefs be poised to try to look for that maybe more than they have? Will the 49ers defense lend itself to that in some way, especially if they're emphasizing what you're saying, Sam?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that the one thing that we've seen from the defense more than the offense this year has been an ability to adjust. I think the offense more adjust game to game, and the strength of this year's defense has been the ability to adjust in the game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the 49ers defend the deep ball pretty well still, but they're really good at defending short passes, which is, the Chiefs throw the ball shorter more frequently than anybody in the league.
Yeah, that explains Patrick Mahomes not having 300-yard games and his completion percentage being as high as it is in the postseason. He was 30 for 39 last week against Baltimore. A couple things. The playoff path for both teams. The Chiefs have, I can't remember if it was true against Miami, but it's absolutely true in Buffalo and Baltimore. Chiefs won the toss, as they always do, deferred, and then scored on its first possession, and then I think they prevented Buffalo from scoring. I know they 3-and-out at Baltimore. They got up early in those games, and I thought that was really important for the Chiefs to play from ahead. And look at what the 49ers have done in their 2 playoff games. They were down 24-7 to Detroit in the NFC title game, and the Packers had a beat a week earlier in the divisional round. They needed to rally at home in both games. So I don't know if that's a thing. I don't know if it should, but I tell you what, I don't think the 49ers can fall behind double-digit score to Kansas City.
It was weird. I was talking about this today, Blair. Thinking about these two teams entering the game, the Chiefs last year in the Super Bowl and the Chiefs this year in the Super Bowl, because I think exactly my prediction, I said, at the end of the day, you trust Mahomes to go down the field, fourth quarter, win the football game. It's a low possession game last year. The Chiefs defense didn't do much other than the scoop and score that Nick Bolton had. They still won 38-35 because Mahomes brings them back. This year, Sam has been all over this the whole season. It's been different. Like, do you trust Mahomes to go get a fourth quarter comeback this year? You have the numbers, Sam. He had one, right? And that was like a field goal on the first play of the fourth quarter.
Blaine Gabbert had as many. Wasn't that your point you made earlier?
Yeah. The Cincinnati Bengals was the final.
The Cincinnati Bengals was the only one.
They opened in the red zone, I think, in the fourth quarter.
Now Mahomes had
a couple.
He had a game-winning drive against the Jets where he led them down, did the slide, they kicked the field goal and won the game. But fourth quarter comeback, he's had one this year. Yeah. So this is a weird scenario. I understand your point, Blair, which is like these teams that have gotten behind the Chiefs, it's been a big disadvantage. I see the flip side of that as well, too, because I don't know that the Chiefs want to get behind because they haven't shown the ability like last year to come back. And while we all think Mahomes is great, that just hasn't been part of the arsenal. And as Sam said earlier, the adjustments, the second half success has been the defense. It hasn't been the offense. And so I could see definitely that the flip side of the argument being true, which is I would think that Mahomes is probably going to play at a pretty high level this game, but will he be part of a fourth quarter comeback? I don't know. We just haven't seen that much this year.
This is only a sort of a point of coincidence and observation that probably bears no relevance on the game. But as you bring up that idea of the 49ers trailing the way they did, I can only think of the Chiefs in that 2019 season, the first and only team to win all its postseason games coming back from double-digit deficits. And I think by the time it came to that Super Bowl, we probably thought, well, they can't afford to let that happen against the 49ers.
And then it did.
It worked out. So now, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know what that portends, but I do think it's kind of interesting that's in the preamble here a little bit.
It's obviously a good thing for the 49ers. And we've mentioned this in DVOA, the advanced stats that we love to cite, the play-by-play one that's schedule adjusted. 49ers have the best offense in the NFL. So this is what you want. You want to be able, that's why pass offense is so big in the NFL. It's like, hey, if you're behind, you throw it. If you're ahead, you can throw it. It's the ultimate kind of trump card when you're looking at that. So that shows a great ability by the 49ers, just like it showed a great ability for the Chiefs. Like you're never out of a game because of a great pass offense. And that's sort of what the 49ers have flashed this year with Brock Purdy being a part of that.
Yeah, the 49ers pass game is a lot different than the Chiefs. I mean, you look at the two quarterbacks and you would assume that the Chiefs are the ones that throw the ball deep a lot because they have the gunslinger, the arm. But the 49ers are top 5 in their average depth of target in the league this year. Brock Purdy's really good against the blitz. I think a lot of people think because of his inexperience, you should get after him. He's got 122 passer rating against the blitz this year. It leads the NFL. But what's interesting to me about Spags is like the Chiefs have faced these replicas of this 49ers offense a few times this year. Like that McVay Shanahan offense with a lot of motion. They beat up on the Dolphins twice, better than anybody in the league twice. They were pretty good against the Vikings. The Vikings were at less than 5 yards per play. I think they were at 4.6 yards per play that game. And so obviously with O'Connell that comes from McVay's tree. And those offenses have a lot of motion. And this is what the 49ers have too. It's banking on timing. And the Chiefs are able to disrupt timing because they have a cornerback in the Jarius Sneed is the best press, like whatever you think of his coverage ability, he's the best press guy in the league. And what that does is it disrupts the timing of the offense. So I guarantee you what the 49ers are, they call it red dotting defensive players. Whenever you say this is a guy you've got to account for, like Chris Jones is on everybody's list. L'Jarius Sneed has to be at the top of the 49ers list because he's the guy that can most disrupt what they want to do offensively.
I think the blitzing will be fascinating, Sam, because you look at the stats after the advanced ones, how the 49ers have the closest splits of any team in the NFL. And you think about that, their guys are tighter to the line of scrimmage. So in theory, The Chiefs, what do they always do? They bring slot pressure. They bring guys off the edge. That makes a shorter path to the quarterback. So in theory, this might help the Chiefs that they can get the 49ers in third and long situations. The other problem, though, for the Chiefs is the 49ers have Christian McCaffrey. And we can talk all we want about, hey, screen passes to the running back aren't the most effective way to play. Well, if somebody's blitzing you and you dump into McCaffrey, probably going to be a good play. And we know the Chiefs have had some problems defending those running backs out of the backfield. I mean, we know their corners are great, but a lot of times you dump it to a running back and the corner's not the guy that's out there. So this is sort of an interesting chess match. Again, this is all predicated on the Chiefs being able to stop the run first. Talked to Steve Spagnuolo today. He was asked about that by another reporter and basically said, look, you throw all this out the window if you can't stop the run. If that doesn't happen, all these things, these exotic things they want to do, they're out the window. So you start with that for the Chiefs. If that happens, then this blitzing will be kind of fascinating because it seems like both of these teams have things that they can do to make the other side miserable. Which one of those teams will be able to get that done, could go a long way toward determining the game.
The one last point I'd make about the 49ers offense that I find really interesting is they try and get you to put the personnel that they want on the field.
Mm-hmm.
They're better at that than anybody in the league. Like they will put they'll put a fullback and an extra tight end on the field and then they'll throw it. And so what that does is it puts guys like Nick Bolton and Leo Chenal in coverage who the Chiefs do not want to be lined up against George Kittle or Juszczyk or McCaffrey in the game. And the 49ers can dictate that coverage by the guys that they're putting in on offense. They'll also talk about McCaffrey. They'll run with 4 wide receiver sets. They'll run regularly with 3 wide receiver sets. And so the Chiefs, their cornerbacks are going to have to tackle. I think that's one thing that gives them advantage is McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed are very good tacklers for their position. Justin Reed's been a better tackler this year than he was a year ago. But it's those heavy packages where the Chiefs linebackers, the non-Willie Gay linebackers are in coverage that I think could present some problems for the Chiefs.
Who does Sneed start off on? Is it Debo?
I think IU.
IU for sure.
I think when you look at their offense, Debo is, Tyreek Hill hated being called a gadget player. I think Debo's closer to that trick play guy, can use him in a variety of ways. Like when you watch the 49ers play, to me, Ayuk is the toughest route runner for sure. And he's the guy that kind of makes everything tick.
He's a stud. I think whenever he gets a free agency outside the 49ers.
This is before you were on the beat, but I was saying that's who I thought the Chiefs should have taken the year that he came out a few years ago.
His raw numbers, he doesn't hit 1,000 yards, but you look at the weapons in the 49ers offense, you got to feed Kittle, you got to feed McCaffrey, you got to feed Samuel. They have all these guys. So I really think he's a guy that, obviously he's not complaining about being in the Super Bowl, but I think his raw numbers sort of undersell what he is. So I would definitely agree with Sam and say Ayuk is the guy. And obviously a team effort for the Chiefs because the tackling is so important. You mentioned it, Sam. A lot of times the Chiefs try to get away with light boxes because they figure Justin Reed's going to come up and tackle a guy at 5 yards and not miss it. And so they got to do that again on Sunday or they get put in a situation they don't want to put in.
Jesse, you mentioned you talked to Steve Spagnuolo today, and we all got a chance to talk to Brett Veach earlier. He mentioned something that we've talked about many times this year. Because of the way the Chiefs drafted, that kind of helps explain where their defense is right now. Their draft, especially the Fab 5 10-member draft of 2 years ago, but it probably more, well, not probably, in the most important game that they're going to play this season, I think it's worth asking the question again, would the Chiefs rather be on the field with their defense up 3 or, in the fourth quarter with one drive, basically one possession left or down 3 with, Patrick Mahomes needing to either protect, a 30 or 40 yard drive or get a 30 or 40 yard drive. Has our feeling changed about this?
It's a great way to lay out the question, and I find it to grind my gears completely. I think there is still, to me, something about if I'm presented either scenario, I still got to lean to the kid who's 14-3 in the postseason. I get that the weapons aren't the same, that the deployment of the weapons has changed, all that, but there's some intangible force that makes me feel like that's the scenario I prefer if I'm the Chiefs. You guys may disagree. Probably you do.
I think any of us would answer just like, what did the first 3 quarters show us in the game? But Jesse and I mentioned, I do think the defense has a better ability to adjust to if it's like somewhere in the 20s, if it's a 2017, 23-20 game. The thing that I found most interesting with Brett Veach today, and it's something I chatted about with other front office members over the course of this week as well, is just like how they built this defense. And it's incredible how frequently it was, well, this guy was just available. We thought he was a good player and he shouldn't still be available.
Right.
And
Right.
you'd like to think there was some sort of master plan to say, okay, the weapons aren't what they are, so let's just go out and really strengthen the defense instead. Like, let's flip this thing. That just wasn't really the blueprint going into the offseason. It was more, Drew Tranquill shouldn't still be available. Mike Edwards shouldn't still be available. Why is Charles Omenihu at this price? And then suddenly your defense is significantly better. And that speaks to the bigger picture of the way that they've drafted over the past 3 or 4 years. They put themselves in the position to have let's just go add good players. And if they fit, we'll find a spot for them somewhere. And I know Omenihu's not going to play in this game, but had a pretty big play in the last playoff game, was really good down the stretch. And Mike Edwards and Drew Tranquill have become much more key pieces than any of us thought they would be when they signed those guys.
It's a brilliant way to do it. I mean, it's like how you win fantasy baseball and football titles is you basically understand your knowledge is limited. You can rank guys if you want, but at the end of the day, if you get somebody in your tier that's a cheaper value, you're winning. You're getting more expected value there. And so the Chiefs kind of waited out, as Brett Veach was talking about, a waited week into free agency, saw who was still available, saw that some of the guys were getting passed over, then they went after those guys. And even if Drew Tranquill wasn't the top guy on their list, they said they got this many $1 million they left to spend, and this guy is way above what other guys are and still available. So again, that takes some humility and it takes a little bit of patience to be able to wait that thing out and know that you might get a guy that you're not completely sure about. But obviously it turned out for the Chiefs this year. They needed all 3 of those guys to make the run that they have, and at least 2 of them will play major roles coming up on Sunday.
On Christmas Day, the Chiefs played their worst game of the season, and so did the San Francisco 49ers. They got drubbed at home and both teams lost at home, Chiefs and the 49ers. That night, the Ravens went in there and blitzed them. Purdy threw 4 interceptions. Chiefs, a few weeks later, turn around and beat the Ravens in Baltimore in the AFC title game. Is there a transitive property here somewhere in the equation?
Yeah, I think with the Chiefs there is. I think. Look, I asked a lot of players about it who told me they don't think they're here without that game. And Brett Veach had told me that, if you squeak by that game, it's not quite the wake-up call you needed it to be, because you played the same regardless, whether or not you get the game-winning drive or not. You actually performed the same. And that's what I think the stuff we've talked a ton about, their pre-snap issues, like that's what forced them to think about it. I talked with Joe Blameyer, the pass game coordinator, and he said after that game, they said, let's make the hardest part of offensive football the part after the snap, not the 30 seconds before.
Right.
And it's changed things. It's the reason their offenses look so much better in these playoffs.
By the transitive property, Jesse, with your particular math background, you could disabuse me of my incorrectness on this if I'm wrong, but that's the property by which if A equals B and B equals C, then A must equal C.
No, you're close.
Okay.
A is greater than B.
Greater than B.
B is
yes.
greater than C. Then A is greater than C.
A must be greater than C. So by that scenario, the Chiefs should have no problem.
It's an entry point for me.
Am I doing that right? Yeah.
To think, since that Christmas Day game, the Chiefs have played some pretty outstanding, their best football of the season, right? And
absolutely.
Whether you want to count the game at the Chargers, in which the reserves played, but the 49ers really haven't, right? They beat Washington. They lost their regular season finale to the Rams. I can't remember. Did they sit their starters?
Yeah, they did.
So they sat their starters too. And then, again, had to rally in the postseason to beat the Packers and the Lions. And I think about that when I think about this game and trying to come up with edges. And the other thing that I consider is in the last 2 games, the Chiefs beat at their stadium 2 of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And I don't think Brock Purdy, as good as I think he is and will be, he's not there. He's not in that class.
2 of the best offenses too.
Yeah.
It's not just the quarterback play. Those have really good offenses and good weapons.
Look, but I think your broader point really is the Chiefs seem to be playing their best football, or their best version of themselves, or what they could be is now. I don't know if that's 49ers had stronger streaks, better sequences during the season than they've had in the last month.
Just one game better than the Chiefs, I'll remind you.
I also just want to bring this up. Look, Mahomes has played about perfect in the postseason, and the Chiefs have had the only turnover was McCall Hardman's fumble, right?
Yeah, I think didn't Clyde lose a fumble at the end of the
late against Miami.
That didn't matter.
It caused you some. It would matter to you. You had to do some rewrites.
I had to rewrite my story saying, "Oh my God, the Chiefs
did
not turn the ball over," and then they did. But I mean, to the point there, like those are huge plays. I remember you saying it. Like midway through the season, you did not trust this Chiefs team to not mess it up, to not have a penalty, to not have a costly turnover, to not have a drop of pass, have a receiver. So I appreciate all that we're discussing here. And the Chiefs have been hot. And obviously Mahomes has played at a different level and Kelsey's played at a different level in the postseason. But I do just want to point out that like this is why this line is still 2 points. That for all you could say, like Mahomes is just going to play well. And I think we all believe that. There still is potential that some of these things could pop up for the Chiefs. And even if it's fluky, like a turnover is worth 5 points, and they haven't had those really cost them in the last 3 games. So whether you like the Chiefs or not, there still is kind of a small margin for error in this game because, I mean, I'm not breaking ground here. The 49ers are good. They're a good football team. And the Chiefs have been beating these other really good football teams without shooting themselves in the foot. And that has been something that they battled all season long. And so to just march in the Super Bowl and just believe that no turnover is going to happen, it's probably a bridge too far for me to cross. It's something to consider here that the best Chiefs play has kind of coincided with them not making mistakes, the same mistakes that they made all season.
What's interesting about that, though, is that all along we kept thinking these are things that a good team cleans up.
They're fixable.
So they're fixable.
This is what you want.
And they kept not fixing them.
Yes.
And then they seem to have, but again, you've made this point today, but also over time. I mean, does that mean that they will? It's the past. Does it indicate you can expect the future result, right?
Yeah.
And we don't know.
It's just a matter of if the expectation for the Chiefs to not turn over again. That's probably too high of an expectation. I mean, things happen. Sometimes they're outside your control, but that's sort of the margin of error that the Chiefs are working with right now, that they look really good when they don't turn it over. They might turn it over against 49ers. I mean, there's a possibility it could happen. And if it does, they'll have a little bit more to overcome. That's it.
Mahomes has actually had 0 turnover-worthy plays.
It's just crazy. It's just crazy.
But I think it speaks to something that Vahe wrote a couple times about, which was, when Mahomes said you can punt. I mean, it's not just something he's saying. Like he acted. It was never more evident than that second half against the Ravens game. The way he played that half.
Is Kadarius Toney going to play? Speaking of turnovers.
Well, what's funny is, so I don't know what turnover-worthy pass means, but if a guy might tip a ball into an interception, then that is not a turnover. Right. So I guess my point is that he could create offensively situations where you feel like, I would be very hesitant to see him on offense, and I believe that transfers even to his dynamic punt return ability. I'd be scared to see him on the field. That's why I feel like there needs to be.
I don't know what the answer is going to be. The answer should be no. I think that the risk just so far outweighs the reward, and you have played really good football since you set Kadarius Toney down. So, since he was injured.
Yeah, right. Injured in that play against the Patriots. Hurt himself on that play.
I would not play him. And to be honest, I thought at one point last week there should have been a debate whether or not to bring him to the Super Bowl. He's been the antithesis of what Andy Reid wants, which has been a distraction for the past week. The only reason we've written about Kadarius Toney is for stuff that's on social media, not anything to do with football.
All right, in other positions that'll be affected because of injuries,
Joe Tooney's out.
Nick Allegretti's going to play. Not official, but that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think they're okay there. They lose a little bit, but I thought Allegretti played well at Baltimore. That was the case last week.
Yeah, I thought he had one of the best games of his life against Baltimore. So I talked to Nick Allegretti yesterday up here in Vegas, and he's had 3 really strange Super Bowl experiences. His first one, he gets plugged in to the game late, to the game plan late against Tampa Bay. The offensive line becomes the story of that loss. His second one, he has twins the morning of the Super Bowl. And his wife's in labor for 6 days. He's got a plane ticket booked for every day to go back. And then once that comes Saturday night, he says, well, I'm not making it back. And then, of course, she has him on Sunday morning.
Of course.
And then now he's starting in this game. But he said this is the first time in a couple of years where he has gone into a game the whole week as the starter. Because last year twice, once he started a game, but Joe Thuney had actually practiced all week. So that was, and then he just didn't play. I think that was the Bengals maybe. Then they had another game where he practiced all week, and then Joe Thuney was like, no, I can play on Sunday. This is the first time in 2 years, these last couple of playoff games, where he has practiced all week as the number one and then played. And so I agree with you that he played terrific against the Ravens, but I think there's a relationship with the preparation part of that too.
It's just the upside's not there. I mean, we know Joe Thuney's an all-pro.
He's an all-pro.
Yeah, I mean, so I think that potentially hurts the Chiefs in the run game. The 49ers have been really bad at stopping short yardage runs. And, I mean, knock on wood for the Chiefs, they've been really good at short yardage runs lately. So those are the types of plays that can swing games we know, like the 3rd and 1s. And so the Chiefs will not have quite the push in there. And he did have some rough pass blocking snaps last week. But the Chiefs have to feel good about the depth they have there. Again, this guy has played in Super Bowls. He's been with them forever. He knows the system. So they have to feel good about the option they have. Just obviously not as good as having an all-pro in there and having the options they would if Joe Thuney was available.
Well, and the other one, maybe the most significant, Charles Menehue's not playing after being injured. And the play after he had the strip sack at Baltimore, it was the first play of the next series. The defense was on the field. This one's maybe the most worrisome one, just because it influences the depth of the defensive line. Karlaftis, of course, and Mike Dana are going to be there as the starters. Who's going to play behind them? What's the defensive end rotation here? Dare we say it? Will it be a certain first-round draft pick for the Chiefs?
The Chiefs Super Bowl drama redemption story continues, then Felix will have 2 or 3 sacks in this game, right? Yeah, he's been waiting his turn. I mean, last week when they didn't have Felix up, it was Malik Herring they threw in there, and they had Karlaftis play a bunch of snaps because it was kind of limited offensively. The Ravens weren't on the field that much, which really helped the Chiefs. But yeah, you want to talk about redemption stories, Felix not being able to really crack rotation, being an active for all 3 weeks of the playoffs. He has not had an NFL postseason snap, and he's going to have some on Sunday. So buckle up. I guess we'll see what he's got and see if he can hold his run lane, which I know that's been kind of an issue for him when he's been in this year. It'll be important against the 49ers, but if the redemption stories like Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney from last year continue, then I guess don't be shocked at all if Felix has a big game.
Yeah,
I like that thought.
I thought they potentially could move Chris Jones to defensive end more, but Noddy's out.
They're down Noddy, right?
So like you're weak at defensive tackle already too. But Jesse hit what I was going to say, which is the run game is what I'd be more concerned about than the ability to generate pressure.
Okay. Well, and I hate to kind of pile on Felix this season, but didn't he have his worst moment of the year in the stadium during the regular season? Was it Jacobs that had the 63?
It's kind of when he was never a starter, but that's kind of when he just completely fell out of the routine. He didn't play another snap in that game.
Yeah, he missed the gap, and it led to the long run. Touchdown. And again, against the 49ers, there's going to be gaps if you don't hold it up. So, yeah, it's a fascinating storyline within this. I guess I'll go throw my one bold prediction out there. When we're talking redemption stories, it just seems like a game where Trent McDuffie's going to get his first career interception. I mean, the guy's watching Deion Bush come in for his 30th snap of the season last week and gets his interception. How can Trent McDuffie in 2 years, this year being an all-pro, not have an interception? Let's just mark it down here.
That's your prop bet?
That's my prop bet. Trent McDuffie will have an interception in this game. Just complete all of the fairy tale stories and let the NFL script be complete.
All right. Well, you will make a game prediction because that's what you do, Jesse. And I would suggest that people go to kansascity.com, the print edition of Sunday's Kansas City Star, to find out what that's going to be. All right, guys. We will see you at Allegiant Stadium on Sunday for Super Bowl LVIII. That will do it for this episode. Thanks to Monty Davis for producing and to our SportsBeat KC staff of Randy Mason, Jeff Rosen, and Scott Chasen. Tip of the cap to Jesse Newell, Vahe Gregorian, and Sam McDowell for sharing their insights. I hope you've been following the Stars' coverage of the Super Bowl. It has been fantastic. The reporting and photo and video work here in Las Vegas, plus we have a team of reporters who spent all week making the drive from Kansas City, stopping along the way to talk to Chiefs fans. Find it all on kansascity.com or in the print editions of the Kansas City Star. Thanks for listening. We'll be back the day after the Super Bowl for our next episode of SportsBeat KC.